knit, crochet, weave, loom weaving, or whatever that you are doing that is a fiber craft, please join in. Everybody's welcome. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, though I do get up to other fiber-related topics from time to time. I am coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, which is a small suburb outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, in the southwest United States. This is where I'm from and where I live with my husband, Brandon, our 5-year-old son, Angus, our 2-year-old son, Ronan, and our big fat house cat, Oscar. I am also the owner and dyer of Fiber for the People yarn. You can find both me and my yarn over on Instagram at fiber.for.the.people. You can also find Fiber for the People online at fiberforthepeople.com. That is the home of the online shop, plus a lot of other information regarding Fiber for the People yarn. Speaking of Fiber for the People yarn, there is going to be a shop update on Saturday, May 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. You can learn all about that by following over on Instagram or heading over to the shop site, which is fiberforthepeople.com, and signing up for the newsletter. That'll keep you in the loop about all goings on with Fiber for the People yarn. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can do that by either leaving a comment directly below the video, which I always love to read the comments that you guys leave me, or you can email me at contact@fiberforthepeople.com. You can also find me and my yarns on Ravelry. I am Taylor Earl on Ravelry, and you can find Fiber for the People yarn by searching in the search box at the top for Fiber for the People yarn. We also have a Ravelry group associated with the podcast. It is Wool Needles Hands. If you go to the groups tab, you can type into the search box Wool Needles Hands or Wool Needles Hands and Knitting Podcast. One way or another, you are bound to find our Ravelry group, and you can join over there and get involved in the year-long knit-along that we have going on that I will be talking about in just a minute. I just want to give a quick shout out to our Ravelry group moderator, Steffi, who is at Hootie Knits. She takes care of all the moderating that goes on over there, keeping things up to date. She is an angel, and I appreciate her so much, and I hope she knows. So thank you very much, Steffi. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and check out episode 41 of the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. I have a pretty full episode for you guys today, so I want to go ahead and jump right in and get started. And I want to begin by chatting about the make-along for the podcast. We have a year-long make-along associated with the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. It is called the Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits 2020. It is a make-along where we pretty much knit, crochet, or what have you all throughout the year based on some categories that we've compiled. And you can find all the information for this make-along down below in the description box. So you can click on that. It'll take you to the Ravelry group. It'll lay everything out for you. But essentially, it's a pretty free-flowing year-long make-along. And yeah, it's pretty low stress, low maintenance. So that's a lot of fun going on right now. Definitely head over to the Ravelry group, join the group over there, learn more about the make-along. In the meantime, I just want to take a quick look at a few of the makes that are coming out of this make-along over on the Ravelry group. This make-along is actually pretty newly rejuvenated, so things are starting to pick up pretty steadily. It was kind of on a hiatus for a little while. So when you head over to the Ravelry group, you'll notice that people are starting to pick up the pace and, submit those projects that they're working on that fit with the make-along categories. And then I have a winner selected that I did not choose at random. I actually chose it because it was the one that just stood out to me. They're all awesome, but this one just stood out to me, especially in these times that we're in right now. And I thought this one deserved that first prize of the year. So I will share that with you. But first, let's look at some of the makes coming out of the Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits Make-Along 2020. everything is so lovely, and it makes me really, it warms my heart to see that people are really jumping back into it again. So that is awesome. So thank you guys for participating in the make along. I love seeing the work that you guys are doing. Now, I chose my winner. Her name is Amy. She's from Las Cruces, New Mexico, and her Ravelry handle is NM Fox, and she created a little knit bear. I'll pop it up on the screen here for you. It's a little knit bear nurse, and she knit this for her grandson's nurse. And I just think the thought, the time that goes into that, it was so, as soon as I saw that, it was so special. So I chose Amy, who is NM Fox, to be the first winner for this year's Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits Make Along. And she is going to be winning a skein of Fiber for the People yarn. It is the Floral Coral colorway. So I'll pop it up here so you can check it out. It's a really beautiful, soft pink with russet speckles. It's really gorgeous. I'll pull this off so you can get a load of it. Now this is on the Merino mohair. It is a combination of 56% superwash merino and 44% super kid mohair, and it's all in single ply, and it's really lovely. It has a beautiful halo, really, really soft, luxurious hand, and I love the color, the beautiful pale pink with those russet speckles. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I will be sending this off to Amy for being the winner of this month of the Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits Make Along. So congratulations, Amy. I will get in touch with you, or if you'd like to get in touch with me to let me know that you saw the podcast and that you acknowledge that you're the winner, it doesn't matter. I will get this to you one way or another. I love the little bear that you knit. I think it's so precious and so thoughtful. So thank you so much for participating. And everybody else, if you haven't jumped on board the Wool Needles Hands Year of Knits Make Along 2020, you can jump on board anytime you want. You can jump off anytime you want, depending on your schedule. It is open and free flowing, and everybody is welcome to participate. Knit, crochet, weave, loom weaving, or whatever that you are doing that is a fiber craft, please join in. Everybody's welcome. So I look forward to seeing more of your guys' work in the upcoming days and weeks. And so we meet again in the Whatchu Drinkin' Girls segment. I am excited to be back here today. Thank you for taking the time to stop by and hang out. As I said, it's so nice to have you here to chat with me for episode 41. Today I'm drinking out of my it's newish coffee mug that I got at Stitches West back in February, and I am drinking a longtime favorite, and you may be familiar with this if you've been watching the podcast for any length of time. This is by Tazo, and it is the glazed lemon loaf tea that they have. And you guys, if you've never had this tea before, you need to place an order for it right now from someplace, or go pick it up, whatever. You can get it at Target. So if you're in a place where you have a Target nearby, you can go online, order it, do a drive up. However, I warn you, it is often sold out. This stuff is very popular for a very good reason. It is, of course, tea, but when you drink it, it tastes just like eating a glazed lemon loaf. It's really magical. It's kind of like a miracle. And like with a few scoops, not like small little spoon tea stirring, like the little spoons that you get for tea, like small ones of those with stevia, it's perfection. Especially if you feel like you're having like a sweet tooth, but you really don't want to indulge, this is the way to go. So that's what I'm having. I'm having glazed lemon loaf tea by Tazo, and I'm very happy about it. I'm not even upset that it's kind of hot in this room right now, and this is hot tea because it's just so delicious. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and plug on with the show. Okay, I have a few different whips to share with you guys today. Two that you've seen before, but that I've made some progress on, and one new one that I just cast onto. So it's pretty small, but it's worth showing. I'm actually keeping all of these, adjust myself here. I'm actually keeping all of my whips in this basket that you can tell I got from Target. My husband gives me the hardest time, and the proof is in this pudding right now, that I always forget to take tags off of baskets. I don't know what it is. It's typically just baskets or plants. Like if I buy plants from the garden center and we plant them, I'll not take the tags off of the like trunks of the tree, like fruit trees or whatever. I just kind of leave them there. And it's not out of laziness. I am not a lazy person by any means. It's just like, I don't see the point But I mean, this is like an eyesore to leave this on. But this part has been facing the wall, so I haven't seen it. But Target, this is where this basket came from. So anyway, all of my works in progress are living in this gorgeous market style basket that I got at Target. And with the world being the way that it is right now, you don't do a lot of impulse shopping because nobody's going into any place for any length of time to do any impulse shopping. And even the people that are going into places, whether they're wearing like a mask or not, they kind of just have this sense of urgency to like get what I need and get out. So that's, really cut down on impulse buying. And so when I went online, we've been doing a lot of going online and ordering what you need and having it, either delivered to the house or you drive up and you pick it up curbside, because that's pretty much mostly what's being offered in most places. This was actually one of those purchases because we needed to like reorganize some spaces in our living room. I like to keep things tidy and organized, a place for everything and everything in its place, and baskets are a really great way to do that. This story is becoming unnecessarily long. Anyway, I ordered this on Target, and it was kind of nice to get something cool that I wanted that was kind of tapping in. It wasn't really impulsive, but it kind of felt impulsive, but it's serving a really solid purpose right now. So because you really needed to know all of that, here we go, on with the show. So anyway, this is where all of my projects are living. And yeah, they are intermingling in there, and that's dangerous. But because, you have strands of yarn all in here, balls of yarn just bouncing around together. But I live dangerously. It's just the way I am. So anyway, everything is in here, no project bags, because where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. And if I do decide to go someplace where I am knitting in the car for any length of time, I'll just grab a project bag. Easy peasy. But, in the moment, I'm not really going anywhere. So everything is just in my basket. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin with my Rift pullover. Pardon me, by Jared Flood. I am knitting this for my husband. It is the first, if you watched the last episode, you know all about my, first sweater experience for my husband. It was a huge nightmare. It wasn't a nightmare. It was just really, really large. And I'm kind of tangled up here. Let me just get myself together. See, now this is why you don't put all your projects in a basket. Do as I say, not as I do. Quarantine time. You do things a little bit differently. So we make exceptions. Not only is this yarn ball absolutely unkempt, but okay, we're back in business. All right, this is the Rift pullover by Jared Flood for Brooklyn Tweed. I'm knitting this for my husband. Last time we spoke, I only had just a little bit of the ribbing done, and now I have a little bit more done. This is absolutely ridiculous. I swear I don't do this on purpose, but I do feel like every time I film an episode of the podcast, there's some kind of shenanigans that ensues. Okay, so this is what I have so far. You can start to see the little rib detail that happens up the side of the sweater. So this runs up the side all the way to the armpit, and then I believe it's kind of picked up on the shoulder. I have all of my patterns on this really clever app that I'm going to share with you guys in just a little bit. So it's really easy for me to pull up my patterns to talk about them. Yes. Okay. So the ribbing detail runs up the side of the sweater. I'm going to pop it up on the screen so you can see it here, but you can see that really nice ribbing runs under the arm. And then once it makes its way to the armpit, it kind of comes up the front and up around the front of the arm or one of the sides of the chest and then around the back. And it's a really cool kind of like shoulder saddle almost of ribbing detail. Very nice. Very beautiful indeed. And that is what I have going on here. So I haven't been working on this one as much as some of the other projects, but I am really happy with the progress that I'm making so far. I'm knitting this, and this is something I want to talk about too. I am knitting this in the new 100% organic, extra fine merino worsted by Fiber for the People. It is a mouthful. And this is in the neat colorway. I love this colorway too, by the way. It's absolutely gorgeous. I try to imagine this colorway paired with like a really beautiful variegated mohair, and I have so many ideas running through my head. But I really love this. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this yarn before I move on to anything else because this is a really interesting and relevant topic. I was having an email correspondence with a customer who is looking for a yarn that is an eco-friendly option for knitting a baby blanket. And she was asking about my organic Merino worsted weight yarn because she had purchased an organic Merino worsted from another yarn company, a more well-known, not a hand-dyed yarn company, like a relatively well-known yarn company. And she said that she was experiencing a lot of pilling and was disappointed with that because she just didn't expect it to be that way. And so when we had this conversation, it made me think about this sweater, and not only the sweater, but a shawl that I'm working on, the hipster shawl by Joji Locatelli. I'm also doing in the same yarn. Now, one thing I know about yarn is that if it is untreated, meaning it's non-superwash, it retains the cuticle on the fiber. And if you agitate the fiber, it is going to pill or it's going to full. Fulling is what we think of when we think of felting. And then pilling is when you get those little knobs of fiber all over your fabric and you kind of have to use a gleaner or some kind of a sweater shaver to get rid of them. That's what pilling is. And there's a really good way to test if a yarn is going to pill. And you just take the yarn, you fold it in half like this in between two fingers, and then you just rub those two fingers together to agitate and to see what happens. And if you notice, and I'll do it with my yarn right here. So if I rub these, like I'm going to snap my fingers just to agitate it a little bit, that should be enough. Then what you do, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is, let me get my hand there so I can get it to focus for you. This is kind of what you get when you do that. It's a little fuzzy, not too fuzzy, but definitely a little bit fuzzy after rubbing it together. This is actually really good because this is made from a long staple merino, extra fine merino fiber. The longer the staple, the less likely the fiber is to pill. And so I can't, speak for the yarn that this person was using, but I can speak for my own yarn. And though this is not a very pilly yarn, all untreated, especially merino, because it's soft. So, whether it's long staple or not, if it's a very fine, soft yarn, it is going to be more susceptible to pilling. But all untreated merino is going to have a propensity to pill. That's just the nature of the fiber. And so it had me thinking about this sweater and thinking that, like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you just don't knit sweaters with 100% untreated merino wool? No, absolutely not. That is not what that means, because for centuries, that's what people were doing. Is before the superwash treatment came along, everybody who was working with wool and knitting sweaters was working with untreated wool yarn. And I mean, unless it had some kind of a nylon in it, if it was 100% wool, it was untreated. And so that was just the reality. And I think that, and it's really important to separate the idea that pilling means poor quality. There are instances, especially in terms of cashmere. When we're speaking about cashmere, the higher quality the cashmere, not necessarily the fiber itself, but the way the fiber is milled, that's going to determine how the cashmere, the fabric, is going to pill or not pill. So if you have your mill spinning your yarn using the longest staples of cashmere, you're going to have a yarn that is less susceptible to pilling, which I'm proud to offer in my shop. However, there are some major clothing brands who use mills to create the yarns for their products that will create cashmere yarns and fabrics from short staple cashmere, and they pill almost instantly upon wearing. I have a sweater from one of these particular brands, and as soon as I wore it, the first time I wore it, it started to pill and it drove me crazy. And so I did some research, and this was before I started selling yarn. I did some research about that and learned about this process. And so when I created my yarn-based collection, I knew what to look for. So it's really interesting. So the longer the staple, the fiber, the less susceptible it is to pilling. But in the case of wool, merino wool, or any other kind of wool outside of cashmere, that isn't really an indicator of quality as much as it is, number one, how the fiber is milled, but also it's just the nature of things. And when we decide we want to knit something with that kind of yarn, that just means we have to be prepared to treat our fabric and take care of our clothing, based on how often we wear it. So I don't know, something to think about. Things that cross my mind when I'm knitting. I just thought I'd share that with you. So I don't know if you ever think about pilling and all of that, but it's important to know that that doesn't mean you don't knit with those yarns or that there's a quality issue. It just means that that's the nature of things, and you just have to think about that when it comes to when you wear that garment and how you take care of that garment in between wearing. So interesting thing to ponder. But anyway, this is my Rift pullover by Jared Flood in the 100% organic worsted weight yarn by Fiber for the People. And I'm really happy with it. It looks like it's small because I'm holding it up to my chest, but it's because these needles that I have aren't quite long enough to stretch it out all the way. But we did the measurements. I made gauge. I have a really proper gauge swatch, and I will pop it up right here. Proof in the pudding that I did a proper gauge swatch. So I'm very confident about this. Happy with this, and I'm also really happy that it's for my husband. My dear, dear husband deserves something like this. Okay, for my next work in progress, I have my No Frills sweater by Petite Knit. Now, in my last episode, I talked about how I felt like this particular project was just taking a lot of time. I was trudging through it. It felt like my hands would get stiff when I'd work with the yarn, whatever. But I have come to the conclusion that that is not the case. That it was probably just when I was working on it, I just wasn't really into I don't even know, because I've really fallen in love with working on it all over again. That's pretty much what's been taking up most of my knitting time since we last spoke. I've made, I feel like, a significant amount of progress since then, considering all the other things that have been going on. But last time when we spoke, I had just completed I hadn't even really completed the yoke yet. So here we are. This is the right way. So this is what I have so far, and I'm really happy with how it's coming together. Now, what's really special about this fabric and this project is the combination of yarns that I have here. Now, I did a whole video. It was a tips from the dye studio video, but it has nothing to do with dyeing yarn, but rather with working with hand-dyed yarn. I'll go ahead and pop a link for that right up here. I encourage you to watch this when you have an opportunity, because I provide a little bit of insight based on personal experience about pairing mohair and what I'm calling base yarn together, and how pairing a solid mohair yarn can impact a variegated base yarn and vice versa. It's hard to explain it all right now in the midst of sharing this project with you, but I definitely encourage you to watch this if you have plans on working up a project that requires a mohair pairing of any sort, because I think that there's a lot to be said for pairing a variegated mohair with a solid base yarn as opposed to the other way around, which is what I think more commonly done. So this particular project here, and I will be having a part 2 of that. I have some more that I want to share with you guys. I've done some more swatching, and I've made some new insights. So look for that coming soon. But in the meantime, definitely check out the previous video that I linked to up here. I'll also link to it down in the description box, and you can find it by just searching through the channel. Okay, now, in the meantime, let's talk about my No Frills sweater, because I'm so happy with it. So here's a look at the fabric. Again, what I did here is I paired a variegated mohair with for all intents and purposes, a solid base yarn. Here is my base yarn color. This is the Sapphire color by Fiber for the People. This is on the Merino nylon 2-ply base. It's a beautiful, rich teal navy, and it has a navy look, but really there's splashes of black in here and some teal and some really, really deep, night sky blue. So it's just a beautiful blue combination. You can kind of even see that it's definitely much more teal than navy, because the shirt I'm wearing is a navy blue. But it's so gorgeous. And I'm pairing this. Essentially, this is a solid, in my opinion. It is definitely a variegated colorway in terms of how I produce the colorway. There's speckles in there. There's variegation of color. It has little mohair fuzz all over it. But when you're looking at it, like I say, from a galloping horse, it looks like a solid. I'm pairing this with the Angel Rust colorway and the mohair base. This is Kid Mohair Silk. Blend base by Fiber for the People. So these two together it's really such an amazing combination. So typically I think, and this is what I talk about in the video, typically I think people would choose the heavily variegated for the, the base yarn, and then the solid color for the mohair to go on top. But this is a testament to rethinking that. So just watch the video. I explain more about that in the video. But the way this looks when you pair them together, it's really something special. And I love it. And you can tell, you can see flashing and you can see pulling and all of that happening with the variegation of the mohair. But because it has this really beautiful, deep, solid behind it, it's not so jarring to the eye that it just kind of works. It just kind of seems like a really cool statement piece, but also a really beautiful neutral option for a sweater. So I don't know, it's just the best of both worlds in my opinion. Very wearable. It's a really wearable fabric, and I'm really excited to have this. I'm not in any rush because it's really warm outside these days, but I'm working on it steadily, so it will be finished. We have plans to go to Rhinebeck this year. We have all but our plane tickets because we can't buy them yet. But this is going to be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. Hopefully that, it continues to happen. So we'll see. But I'm super excited about this. So cozy. Yeah, love it. And so as for the pattern, because this is what I was discussing in the last episode, I feel like I have mohair all over me. I really enjoy the pattern, and I really love working with the yarn. It's moving, it's flowing, it's smooth. It doesn't feel like I'm trudging through it. So I kind of am taking back what I said in the last episode. If for whatever reason, if I turned you away from the no frills pattern, because it is a really great pattern, I don't know. I'm not really, maybe my hands were stiff. Who's to say? But I'm making progress and I really am enjoying it. So this is a really great option if you want a nice, just your basic top down kind of essential garment, that you put in your wardrobe for those colder months. This is really a good one for that. So no frills sweater, Fiber for the People yarn in the sapphire and angel rust colorways together. Beautiful pairing here. Also, just for your information, all of the colorways that I mentioned here on the podcast are Fiber for the People yarn colorways. You can find those over on the shop. Solid colorways can be purchased at any time, and all the other colorways can be purchased at any time on a dye to order with a 3 skein minimum sweater quantity order basis. You can learn all about that down below in the description box. I'll link to sweater quantities and the signature solids, so that way you have access to all of the colorways there. Of course, you can shop colorways that are featured in shop updates as well. But if you don't want to wait for a particular shop update and you want to get your hands on a special color or one of the Fiber for the People colorways sooner than that, that's the way to go. Sweater quantities are the way to go. So you can find that link down below in the description box. Okay, this next work in progress I just casted onto it. And really the main reason why I started a new project so soon after not having something finished is because I wanted to use this yarn. So this is a new colorway for Fiber for the People called Rain. And when I dyed this colorway and took it out of the pan and dried and saw it and twisted it up, and I got to witness it in all of its glory, I knew I needed to have that in my stash for something soon. It's just such a gorgeous color palette, beautiful for a neutral. So I'm going to share that with you, and then I'll share the project that I'm knitting right now with this. Okay, so this is the colorway Rain. It is a beautiful, kind of like a green toned gray base. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is coming off a little warmer than what it actually, well, no, I guess that's pretty, well, it looks like you're seeing something with a little bit more of a green tinge to it. I'll pop a picture of this in much more accurate lighting on the screen so you can see what it looks like. This is the Rain colorway, and it is so beautiful. I just love the variety of colors in this skein. The blues, the jewel tones that kind of pop out with the speckles. Oh gosh, it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna unwind this or untwist this to show you. Okay. Oh, I just love searching the yarn for all the beautiful details. So here is Rain up close so you can see it. So it's got so much beautiful color running through it. Oh, it's gorgeous. And then of course that really beautiful gray base. It's stunning. So I wanted to use this in some kind of a really beautiful airy top. Here is my cake of rain. It's already starting to do that, like, what do they call that? Oh goodness, like a beehive deal. So it's really beautiful. If you go, oh gosh, get in there and look at those gorgeous speckles. It's so flippin' beautiful. So that is Rain. This is the Merino nylon 2-ply base. And I am creating the Bolin top by Layla Rab. I believe that's how you say her last name. It is a design that it was designed for Quince & Co. In their, it's like a summer yarn that they have. I almost want to say it's got like a linen cotton makeup. I'm not 100% sure. But this is in the Merino nylon 2-ply yarn. Now this is what I have so far. I just started this last night. So the Bolin top, you know what, before I show you this, I'll pop a picture of it here so you can see it. So this is the Bolin top by Layla Rab. It's a beautiful kind of easy breezy t-shirt type square boxy t-shirt type top. It's knit in pieces, which is a big one for me because I feel like I shy away from anything knit in pieces, though I understand the value of knitting something in pieces for the structure, for the, you know, the different intricacies in the designs, all of that you can achieve by knitting something in pieces and seaming it together. So I'm really jumping out of my comfort zone with this. But since I start, it's kind of nice because you're working on small pieces that don't seem to take a lot of time to complete. So you kind of feel like you're finishing something every time you finish a little piece. Now I haven't finished anything yet, so honestly I can't speak to that, but I can tell you that it feels nice to have just this small little thing that I'm knitting back and forth on. And then, you know, I'll be working on the next piece and then I'll just sew it all together. I'm kind of channeling my inner Andrea from the Fruity Knitting podcast. I've said that before on this podcast because she is such kind of like the guru of knitting a garment in pieces and seaming it together. Her knits are beautiful. The construction is beautiful. She's so talented. So I kind of feel like I'm channeling that side of, you know, my knitter, my inner knitter. But I'm happy with this and I'm excited to have this garment as well. I'm looking at it here on my tablet. It's really beautiful. It's just very, you know, open and airy and delicate, and that lace design running, you know, laterally on the back with the beautiful seam going down the back. It's just really lovely. And it kind of has a little bit of a cropped look to it too, which I particularly like things that are somewhat cropped because I like to wear high-waisted pants or jeans or something that sits a little higher waisted. So I want the shirt that I'm wearing to come up a little bit higher so it meets with the top of the pants. And also too, I think this would be lovely over the top of a really pretty like flowy dress. So there's a lot of options with this. So this is the Bolin by Layla Rab, and I'm really excited to be knitting this, especially in this gorgeous colorway. So this is what I have so far of the lace section. I know it's not very much to speak of, but it's something. So yeah, we're getting there. So this is actually going to be the back. So it's going to be like this, and then you would work off of it this way, and then this way, and then you would seam those down the middle of the back. So, all right, so here is some more of just that Rain colorway. It's really beautiful. Now, another thing I've been thinking about as I've been working with this, and I kind of feel like I have jumped a little bit more on the alternating skeins bandwagon. I can see the importance and the value in doing that when it comes to certain colorways that might, you know, flash or pull or whatever a little bit differently. So it's kind of advisable. Now, one thing though, with this, and I was thinking about this as I started, is that because you're knitting this in pieces, I'm wondering if that kind of does some of that heavy lifting for you in terms of spreading the color out a little bit, meaning that one of your pieces will kind of pull and flash and do whatever it's going to do this way, and then the other piece will do its thing, and then you'll have all these different pieces, and when you sew them together, any kind of inconsistencies in each of the pieces will almost come together in a, like, it'll almost look somewhat intentional or intentionally unintentional. I don't even know if this makes sense, but it will just kind of look like pieced together, but in a really kind of nice, like, artsy, stylized type way. I don't know. That's just another one of these like weird abstract thoughts that crosses my mind when I'm working on something, especially when it has to do with the color. So I don't know if I'm going to alternate skeins with this. Actually, I can probably almost 100% tell you that I'm not, because it is being knit in pieces, and I want to see what happens. I'm not so weird about flashing and all of that, or, you know, all the little things that happen in the fabric. I'm not really weird about that. So when I do notice it, it doesn't bother me, because it's a hand knit item and because it's a hand dyed yarn, and I kind of understand what goes into that. I think that's just the nature of it, and it's part of its beauty and nuance. But I know that some folks, they're a little bit more concerned about that kind of thing, but I'm interested to see what happens with piecing this together with the finished fabric and how the color, you know, comes through in the fabric. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, this is the Bolin Tee by Layla Rab, and it's beautiful. It's hard to even see like what's going to happen here with the lace because it's so, you know, it's in such early stages, but I think it's going to be really lovely. And what a beautiful neutral color. I just think, how beautiful is this, like as a neutral color all blended together. It has enough green. I mean, what is it about green? Why does green get such a bad rap? It's such a beautiful color, but when you say something has like green in it, it's like, ew, it's green. No, like this has enough of that like vegetal, herby undertone to it that it's, you know, natural and earthy looking, but then it also has enough of the coolness from the blue. There's some of that gray happening. You can see the gray definitely, you know, in parts like this, but it's got enough of that in there to provide it with a really beautiful kind of stony undertone. And then you have these bright pops of almost like a goldenrod that come through. Oh gosh, okay, like look. You get me talking about yarn colors and I won't stop, but just look at that. How beautiful is that? So all of that blended together. I mean, of course, once you start knitting with this, you're not going to have this huge swath of speckled color in one place. But once you blend all that together with the rest of this, that's going to make a really beautiful, beautiful fabric. I actually have knit a swatch of this, and I may have it. I was going to share this with you guys later, and I may not, who knows, we'll see how much time we have, but I did knit a little bit of a swatch of this in garter stitch, and this is the Rain colorway all together in like a garter stitch. Now again, this is a small swatch, so you're gonna see almost like, I mean, it looks like there's some kind of a striping happening, but the repetition is so quick because this is a small piece. All of that being spread out in a larger piece, you're gonna get much less striping, much less pulling, but regardless, I love this. I think it's really, really beautiful. A really nice neutral fabric with splashes of bright color. So that is the Rain color that I am currently knitting my Bolin top in, and I love it. Yeah, I mean, really quick, this is really kind of unrelated to what we're talking about at the moment, but it is a work in progress, I suppose, so I can share it with you now. This is my swatch binder. And it's not going to work. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not going to work for what it is. Like, this is kind of ridiculous. This is me not thinking something through completely. I have been very busy. My mom and I actually have been very busy swatching colorways for Fiber for the People. So I have, and I've been doing both knit swatches and a crochet granny square to go with it. So, for example, this is the colorway Lolly. And I'm doing little garter stitch, you know, swatches and little granny square swatches to show the color so that I can, for the purpose of taking photos, posting it on the site in the colorway gallery so that folks can reference these to see a little bit about how the colorways knit up, because I know that is so important when making decisions, and yarn is an investment and we need to be as educated as we can be. So, you know, yada, 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 all of that. And I don't make any effort to weave in the ends because that's swatch, you know, no big deal. I was thinking that I wanted to have a place to keep my swatches. And what better way to organize your swatches than with a swatch binder? So that idea crossed my mind. And then I thought, well, I could just get a binder and some sheet protectors, stick the swatches in the sheet protectors, and then, call it a day. I have a swatch binder. And what a cool way to go through, almost like a Rolodex of swatches, which is what this one is turning out to be because of the size issues that we're having here. So I went on Office Max. Now you can't go into stores right now, really, especially office supply stores, to, try things out for size. So I just went on Office Max, thought, yeah, okay, let's just do an 8x5 inch binder with a 1-inch ring and get some 8x5 inch sheet protectors. Bada bing, bada boom, and we're done. But no, that's ridiculous. I don't know why I thought a 1-inch binder was going to serve my purpose, because you take 3 of these swatches and stack them on top of each other and you're nearly at an inch already. So that's kind of what's happening here. I can't close the binder because I have all these swatches in it. So this is an evolving thing. I'm not sure how this is going to end up. It's fine for right now because I can, leaf through it and find my swatches. But yeah, we're going to need to figure something else out for future. I'm thinking that I would need like a 12-inch binder. They don't make something like that for very good reason. So if you have any suggestions, I'm sure there are so many other more simple ways of organizing my swatches. But yeah, if you want to provide me with any insight or suggestions to how I might do that, please feel free to do that in the comment section. But yeah, in the meantime, these are being knit and crocheted for the purpose of displaying on the colorway gallery in the shop, so folks can see what these colorways do when you knit them up. So that's because Fiber for the People loves you. But anyway, that is my swatching binder. This lovely flawed little device. Okay, that is all I have in terms of works in progress, but I do have a few things that I want to share with you guys that I just think are really cool. So let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Okay, so I said in my last episode that for my favorite things, I would only be featuring one favorite thing per episode, but today I actually have 2. And that's because something just arrived in the mail today, and I want to share it with you guys today because maybe it will inspire you to go and support some makers for this particular purpose. And I know many of you probably have already done, but I will share that with you anyway because it's really cute and very relevant for right now. Okay, but first, I want to share with you an app that I have been using. Now, you may have heard me talk about this if you've been watching the at-home vlog series, but I mentioned it so briefly that I want to just share it with you guys now because it is a huge resource for me, something that I use all the time that I absolutely love. Now, this is an app called Knit Companion. This is an awesome app for storing all of your patterns from Ravelry, from anywhere that you purchase patterns where you can download them in PDF form. If you can download them to your tablet, you can then pull them up on Knit Companion. There's ways to do that. It's just hugely, hugely useful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to explain, how this works, but I'm going to do a screen recording of the app, and then I will pop that up so you can see kind of how it works in the on the iPad and how it can be used for keeping your patterns kind of under control and organized. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that up right now so you can see it. Okay, so here we are. I just go to Knit Companion, I pull it up. I have something already opened up right here. So this is on my iPhone right now. So if you have it on an iPhone, it might look different on a tablet, but it's not much different on either of those. So this is the local section. You can see up at the top where it says local. That's where I'm at right now. This is everything that I have saved on my device. But then if I go to Ravelry, this shows me all of the patterns that I have. Oops, it looks like I need to log in to Ravelry. Go ahead and log in. Authorize. Okay, here we are. So this is all of the patterns that I have saved on Ravelry. Everything is here. Now, if I see one of these that I want to knit and store in the app itself, I tap on it. So I'm going to take this Barocco Portfolio Volume 5 Balsam Scarf. I tap on it. It does this little like loading thing underneath the icon. And usually that just means that it's been added to your local library. Yeah, so it's right there. So now let's say it's right here in the middle. So let's say I want to knit that. I tap on the little icon And then it shows me the pattern really quickly. And then if I want to go ahead and start the project, I hit start project. I type in the name of the project. Oop, I spelled that wrong. And then it's all set up for me, and it gives me these grid lines. It gives me highlight lines. You have all of these row counters over here on the side that I'm adding numbers to right now. If you have a pen, like an Apple Pencil, which I have on my tablet, but I don't have anything like that with my phone here, you can tap on this little squiggly pencil and use your finger even to squiggle lines on here, kind of making a mess, but you can see how that works. It's really, really cool. On the tablet especially, very, very useful. You can, have the screen expand a little bit if you need it to. So many things that you can do with this. So this means, and then also too, whatever you write on the screen, I'm going to write something here. Whatever you write on the screen, if you exit out of your pattern and you come back to it later, it's still there. So it will save it almost as if you're writing on the document. If you want to highlight something in particular, it's there for you. So it's just a really awesome resource, a place for you to save all of your patterns that you're working on. You don't have to worry about having a marker or a row counter and then a copy of a pattern printed someplace, being held someplace. It can all be in this one spot. And you can also link it to Dropbox as well. I don't have a Dropbox account, so it won't help to tap on that. But if you have a Dropbox account where you save patterns that you've purchased elsewhere other than Ravelry, you can access it there. I don't know, you guys, it's just a really awesome resource. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the screen recording here, but now you can kind of see what Knit Companion can do for you. So yes, it is a huge resource for me, something I use all the time. It means that I only have to have my tablet with me, or it's connected to my device over there as well. The only thing is that if you start a pattern on your tablet, you have to then take it and start it again on your other device. I don't know how to send, designs and patterns that you've started, to have how to send them to other devices so you can work on them between devices. I haven't figured that out. I have this feeling that it's totally doable though, because there's so many ways that you can change the settings on this. So lots of options with this, you guys. So definitely check it out. It's called Knit Companion. I'm telling you, it's going to keep you organized with all of your patterns. It automatically updates too. So if you have, if a pattern update comes through on Ravelry, it will update on here as well, and you'll get the most up-to-date version of that pattern automatically, as long as you're connected to a Wi-Fi or, internet connection. So awesome. I will link to this down below in the description box. So definitely check it out. I'm telling you guys, it's going to revolutionize all of your pattern organization. Okay, and the last thing I want to share with you guys today is something, like I said, it just came in the mail. I saw this on Instagram. This is by Of House Smith. I will link to this down below. She is at Of House Smith on Facebook and at ofhousesmith.handmade on Instagram. But anyway, she is a knitter, but her Etsy shop, she has hand sewn project bags, and then she's also making right now face masks. So I know many of us are really interested in finding some cute handmade face masks that we can wear when we go out amongst the public. And she has some really beautiful ones, tie-dye, really fun, kind of like pastel spring color tie-dye face mask. So cute. I know you won't be able to hear me very well if I put it on, but it's really cute. So I saw this one, and then when I went to check out her site, I noticed that she had this one, and I really, really love this one. So it's kind of like a really pretty mauve mix of colors here. And then it has these really cool straps. It's coming out really pink on the screen, but it's actually a deep kind of plum color, but they're elastic, so you can adjust it around your face and then tie it off, and then it'll fit you nicely. Now these are sewn with a couple different layers of what looks like just like a woven fabric. They don't have any kind of a filter in them, so if you're looking for something that's got like a filter, medical grade, this is just for general everyday use, general precaution, being, courteous to the people around you, that kind of thing, which is exactly what I'm looking for. And also it's, makes a little bit of a statement, and it supports a maker. And so I'm really, really excited about this and about having something, cute to wear or interesting to wear on my face when we do have to go someplace where it's more crowded. It's definitely an aspect of like the normal right now that I'm getting used to, having to wear something like this on my face when we're out and about. It's an unusual thing to get used to, but something like this can make it just a little bit easier. And also too, I think because of the fun colors, children that see you wearing something like this, you have to wonder a little bit about what they think when they see all these people with like medical masks on their face. That can be a little alarming to kids when they don't really understand completely what's going on. Even if you talk to them about it, it definitely gives it a much more real, kind of sense. So I think this is nice to have something like this where you can go out in public, kids get it, they know we're being careful, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be all medical and, I don't even know really what the word is for that, but I want it to be kind of bright and colorful and as fun as it can be. And I think this is a really great way to do this. Now, Of House Smith is one place where you can get masks on Etsy that are handmade, but there are lots of other makers out there doing this. So, maybe buy a couple from different people just to have a collection, because it's a good way to support these people who are doing something really cool for the community while also providing their family and themselves with an income as well. So just thought I would share that with you. Let's go ahead and try it on though. I have this really bright pink lipstick on, so I'm probably going to leave a mark, but it definitely, rids you of that feeling that you need to put like lip color on if you go out in public, but whatever. I probably still will. So here we go. Let's try it on. Okay, so I don't have it on very tightly. I'm fitting it over my ears right now. If I breathe out too heavily, it fogs up my glasses, so it's probably best not to wear my glasses with this. Really cool, you guys. I love it. She did a really nice job making these, so I'm very happy to have supported her. Did I leave lipstick on here? Yeah, there's a little bit of pink inside there, but that's okay. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. Really cool purchase to support a maker, to make sure that I have something kind of bright and cheery to wear when I go out and in public. So consider, getting something like this from somebody who might be making them for people, because I think it's a really cool way to protect yourself and protect others. All right, guys, that is all I have time for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and check out what's going on over here at the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. I have a lot more coming to the channel. I've uploaded a lot of things recently in terms of at-home vlogs, some tips from the dye studio. A lot of that is to come. Please keep an eye out too for my part 2 of tips from the dye studio knitting with mohair. Check out the first video that I linked to earlier. You can find that down in the description box if you have any plans for knitting with a mohair pairing, because I think that it'll provide you with a little bit of insight, but I do have another part to that coming soon. So just keep posted here to the channel. If you like what you see, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. That lets me know that you like what you're seeing here. And don't forget to comment down below as well, because I love reading the comments from you guys. It brings me a little bit closer to you as the viewer, and that always makes me happy. And then of course, subscribe to the channel so you can be on top of all things going on over here at the Fiber for the People Presents YouTube channel. It means so much to me. Thank you guys so much for that support. In the meantime, take good care, be safe, and until I see you again on episode 42 of the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast in about 4.5 weeks, happy knitting, happy whatever it is you're doing, and I will see you soon.